Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello, and welcome back to Joe on Joe Extreme. Extreme. Say it, Troy. Join me with me, ladies and gentlemen. We've got recurring Joe on Joe member. He's very excited to join on Joe Extreme today. It is Troy Smith. He's awesome. He's working with G.I. Joburg. They're making videos. The latest one was called Can You See? He asked me to be a part of it, so I'm a part of that video family with the reenactments, with the action figures, and I'm really happy to have him back on. So Troy Smith, welcome back to Joe on Joe.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. It's great to be back.
It's great to have you back, or should I say target practice.
That's target practice, reporting for duty, sir.
Yeah, Troy, so welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And we are, to be fair, listeners, we're currently recording this the morning after the Saturday night protests in Los Angeles, where it was crazy by me. I don't know if it was crazy by you, Troy, but there's weirdness in the air, and there's a lot going on today. So if I'm distracted or a little preoccupied with stuff, that's where it's at, listeners.
Yeah, we're in the next county over, and it's quiet over here.
That's good.
Yep.
That's good. Listeners, a lot of you know that I work at and with Golden Apple Comic Books. That is on Melrose Avenue. Melrose Avenue was the source of the violence and the protests last night. So there was a little bit of damage to the windows. Luckily, they escaped any hardcore damage and or looting and stuff. But some of our neighbors were not so lucky. The old building that Golden Apple used to be in for years, for like 30 years or something like that. That's the building that burned down. If you saw it on the news, that was that building.
Mm-hmm.
So it's scary times. It is really scary times. And listeners, I hope that our show like ours can give you a little reprieve, which is what we're going to do today, and give you guys a little bit of escape from the current events and some of the strifes and struggles that we're all going through. And so we're going to talk G.I. Joe today. Troy, are you with me on that?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So Troy, tell me about Can You See? Tell me how brilliant my voice acting is. Tell me everything. Tell the listeners. I'm sorry. I know how all that is brilliant. You tell the listeners. No, yeah. Tell us about Can You See and G.I. Joburg and what you got next with your videos.
Okay. All right. Well, it kind of all started when I spoke to you. It's been a little over a year ago when we did Rock and Roll Lives when you're Joe on Joe. When we were doing
with your kids. There was such a great day.
Yep, with the Deke. And I remember asking you about Steven Jubber. And it's like the Joburg crew. And it's like, do you know them? How are they? And, I was kind of like fanboying-ish a little bit. And after that, I was like, you know what? I think I need to jump in the G.I. Joe game. I have some editing background, and I wanted to do something. I saw one of Steven's videos, Blood in the Water. And I thought, you know what? Let me do a little prequel for that. I reached out to Steven, and he was like, oh, yeah, you definitely do it. And he said, heck, we'll put it on my channel. And I was like, okay. So we did. And it's like, that's when the bug bit. So from that, we jumped over to the next one was a big, about 30-minute episode called Clairvoyance. Mm-hmm. And of course, I needed some vocal talent. So I reached out to you, and you gave life to Big Boa and Crocmaster.
Yep.
And they were fantastic and great. So
any excuse to do my Stallone, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was fun because that episode featured Big Boa, Raptor, and Crocmaster. And if
that's like a murderer's row of B-list.
Yeah, exactly. And Crystal Ball.
Oh, yeah.
Crystal Ball to top it off.
He's C-list, though. He's C-list.
Yeah, exactly. But, it was a lot of fun working with those unknown characters. And for you to give life to Big Boa was pretty cool. And there were some people who were just like, you know what? I kind of have a new respect for Raptor now. And I kind of enjoy, Crystal Ball. Paul over at Joburg loved giving voice to him.
Mm-hmm.
so then the saga continued with the next episode, which was By Dawn's Early Light, which Falcon is being chased and haunted by Crystal Ball. I'm not gonna. There's a kind of a good ending to that one. That was a very short one, about 7-minute interlude.
Awesome.
And then on the G.I. Joburg, we just kind of made these just for the fun of it. These commercials featuring Crystal Ball. One was like a real estate get rich quick scheme.
Shut up! I haven't seen these.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No. Tell us.
All right. So YouTube channel Joburg, G.I. Joburg. That's where they're all at. There's a Crystal Ball. It's him doing a get rich quick scheme commercial. Just it's 30 seconds and just trying to mock everything that you see on YouTube and Facebook. You know, those, I'm sure everybody sees them in their stream. Or maybe I'm the one who's just like got the suckers.
You're the one who keeps clicking on them. You keep seeing them because you keep falling for them, Troy.
Yeah, exactly. The other one is, I'm sure everybody's seen, have you been injured in an accident?
Yes.
We did the lawyer one. So Crystal Ball is a lawyer speaking directly to Falcon. And
that's great.
So that's a little spoof. That also entails and hints back to clairvoyance.
Uh-huh.
And then the final one, which is my favorite, the Hair Club for Men. So that one features Crystal Ball and Law. And I don't know why.
He's got, if I remember, he's got male pattern baldness, right?
Crystal Ball?
Yeah, he's not fully bald, right?
No, he has white streaks.
Oh, right. That's what he's got. Okay.
Yeah, so it's hair coloring. So, I mean, even as a kid, this just proves how good advertising is. Because even as a kid, what 8-year-old or 9-year-old's thinking about coloring their hair when they're older? But I'm like, when I'm 40 and I need it, I'm going to use this product.
Yes.
And it just stuck with me. I don't use the product. I don't need to. I like my pepper gray, whatever. But it's just kind of it just stuck with me. So I used that in this little pretty much tried to do it like shot by shot, frame by frame, using the same setup.
Oh, great.
Yes. So the idea is, you know, it gets a little meta with those commercials as we just kind of just threw them out there. They're basically from Falcon's point of view, and then by Can You See, it kind of comes out and revealed that like, oh, these are commercials that Falcon's been watching. And it's because of he was traumatized. Spoiler alerts all over the place. He was traumatized by Crystal Ball in clairvoyance.
Nice.
So it's about Falcon working his way through it. And then the final one in the series that we've done so far is I'm just losing my thought. These titles, I mean, I made them. I can't. Why am I blanking?
Well, you can't use Rocket's Red Glare because G.I. Joe already did an episode called Rocket's Red Glare.
Yes, it was.
And there's some sirens going on in the background, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, today's a little crazy, so there probably will be more sirens throughout.
Can You See? So, Can You See is the latest one,
right?
And that's where I called you up again, and I gave you, and you did the voice of.
Not Starduster. It was one of the Battle Force 2000 guys, right?
Yep. You did the guy from Blocker.
Right. Yeah, but I did him as Hudson from Aliens.
Yes.
Game over.
That was the Viper.
Oh, that was the Viper. Right.
Televiper. Yes. And you I was listening to the recording. He was like, I'm going to throw in a little bit of Hudson, like, game over, man. Game over. Oh, my 4-year-old son picked up on that. He runs around the house. Game over, man. Game over. It's all over.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. If that if that leads him down the route to appreciating Aliens, then yes, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's so funny just to hear. I mean, even the girls, they laugh, and we just all get a kick out of it. So that's a lot of fun.
And the relationship you've got with your kids through G.I. Joe is just awesome to see. It really is. I ran into you guys at that JoeCon last year as well, and just, I mean, to see the youth, the young kids getting into it is absolutely amazing and vital and important.
Yes. And you know, it is a lot of fun to be able to share that gift with them, and I'm very appreciative that they actually took interest in it. because like, who wants to pay attention to dad's old stuff?
Right.
But you know what? They do. And it's, these are the good times. I just have a blast.
And you were saying a little bit before we got on the air, we were talking about, hey, how you holding up in quarantine and stuff. And you were saying that it's been great because you've been able to spend a lot of time with your kids.
I know it's so weird. When it started, it's like you almost go through the waves of grief. I was very angry. I was upset. I was frustrated. And just like everybody was, nobody really kind of knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But as that passed, I was like, you know what? My one goal in this is when, 5 years, 10 years, when I look back on this, that I look back and those were great times. I got to spend so much time with my family. I got to spend all day with my kids. It's been a lot of fun educating them and going through schoolwork with them. And it's been stressful and had some tough days, but the amount of time spending with them and playing with them, it's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone says it goes by so quickly. And I'm thankful that I have this time that I can do that. And, not on the best of terms, but you make the best of what you're dealt with. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's been fun.
Lemonade out of lemons, and
yes.
that's good. We've been kind of trying to do the same, making the most out of it, spending quality times with our dogs, but but with each other too, and just kind of my wife and I, just figuring that out. And it doesn't have to be terrible. It does not have to be a terrible time. Yep.
And your Joe on Joe feed is definitely benefiting from it.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, that's yeah, absolutely. It's been great to be back broadcasting. And I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about like creative and being creative and stuff. And they were saying how this actually isn't really a creative time for them, even though, they've got nothing but time in their hands. They're not in that headspace, and they were on the same page with me of saying, even if like with Joe on Joe, like I'm just forcing myself to do the stuff I know how to do, which is which is creative, but it's flexing those muscles in a great way, and it's so good. So even if like you're sitting around and you're like, oh, I've always wanted to paint, but now I don't want to learn how to paint. Think about like stuff you already know how to do and just start putting them in action. And that's that kind of creative motivation that you're going to find is really, really rewarding. For him, he was a writer, and he was talking about, he basically did a lot of the blocking and tackling of being a writer, like organizing thoughts and cataloging story ideas, like those kinds of behind the scenes stuff. And he was saying how helpful it was, even though he doesn't feel like creating, he's just basically organizing his creativity. And it's so true. It's so vital right now.
That's funny that you mentioned painting. That was the first thing I did. I painted a Sky Striker.
No, awesome.
I pretty much grabbed one of the frames from the classic comic book of Wild Weasel and Ace going at it.
I don't remember. 35 or something.
Yeah,
it is something in that 30 range. Yeah,
that's what I did. I started a while ago, but just put it away because I wasn't liking where I was going, and I just sat down like, I'm finishing this.
That's awesome.
And I like it.
Now, are you painting digitally or with real paints?
Real paints, old
school.
Wow,
what? Share that.
Yeah,
share that.
Okay, I'll see if I can. I'll send you a photo.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I'd love to see it. You follow what's his name? Yickety Click?
No.
Oh, he's a GI Joe artist, or he's an artist, and he does a lot of GI Joes. And he's a super great dude. And I guess he's a massive GI Joe. He's a big fan. He's like us. He's a big fan of all the 80s stuff. So he does. He just every day he does something new. I mean, he is an artist. That's his profession. And his Instagram and his Twitter tweets and stuff are great because it's always GI Joe stuff. And he's got this great paint, like I think it's like gauche is the name of it, like Gauch style of artwork, and it's fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Kickly, that's who I'm talking about. Kickly, Kickly. I follow him on Instagram, and yeah, his stuff is awesome. I'm looking at his page right now. He's got Thundar the Barbarian stuff. He's got Rancor. He's got original Battlestar Galactica, Magnum PI, ton of GI Joes. You know what I mean? Like this is what he does, and he's super talented, and it's just so good.
Yes, I've heard of his greatness.
Yeah, and he's a swell dude too. You can interact with him pretty easily on the social, and he's always supportive and stuff. So it's great.
Yep, always heard good things about him.
So, Troy,
Yes,
Joe
sir.
on GI Joe Extreme. What's your connection to Extreme? Like, have you ever seen these before? Like, what's your connection to this iteration?
I would say my connection is COVID friendly and far more than 6 feet away. Like way more than 6 feet away.
There is no chance of Black Dragon giving you the COVID.
Nope, not a chance. And I had no experience with them. I saw them in a local toy shop, comic shop, probably 8 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
He had them on a sale rack, like uncarded figures, GI Joe Extreme, and I saw them, and I was like, nope, no chance.
And they were probably super cheap, right?
Oh yeah, they were on the sale rack. And then I thought about it, and I went back like a week later, and I thought, you know what? Go get them, buy them. They were gone. So somewhere in my local area, someone likes GI Joe Extreme.
They're pretty affordable on eBay right now. They really are.
Yeah.
And they're fun. They're just different.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they were trying to do something. I mean, it's He-Man, it's Ninja Turtles, it's unarticulated, and for me, GI Joe is all about articulation, and I think that's what a lot of us are really big fans of. And it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
If they were opening an original and watching some of these cartoons to catch myself up to speed, it's like these are not bad cartoons. They're like
not at all.
There's some serious stuff going on. Like people get hurt, and it's a different flavor, and I don't hate it. I kind of like it.
And it's funny. So people are going to get hurt on today's episode. So today we're watching Winner Take All. And the inciting incident is our friend Metalhead gets severely hurt, and Freight takes it very personal. Like, this is a really good personal story.
Yeah. Responsibility, even though it clearly wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah. And it's got the thing that I love about cartoons of this era, when they have continuity and crossover stuff, because we've got Wreckage as the big bad, and we get flashbacks to his origin, which we had seen a few episodes earlier in that Crawling from a Wreckage episode. So frankly, it was also a way for them to get like a minute and a half of animation without having to pay for animation. But you know what I'm saying? It's still cool.
Yes. Yeah, I got to reward those longtime watchers that like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's great. So I dig it. I dig it. I'm a fan. So had you had not seen any of these then before I shared it with you?
No, I have not seen them. They are hard to find, and your interest kind of piqued my interest.
Good.
So,
well,
and
you've got the Google link to that drive, so you watch them all, my friend.
All right.
So listeners, if you want to go on the web and you want to see all these awesome stop motion / live action figure movies that Troy's doing with G.I. Joburg, that's on the G.I. Joburg YouTube page. So go to YouTube and the G.I. Joburg YouTube page and check those out. While you're on the internet, check me out at Joe and Joe Pod. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know if you want to be a guest on the show. I love having listeners and guests and meeting new people and finding out all the good things about people and what they're up to. And, if you're on a podcast app and you're on iTunes or you're anywhere, Stitcher, and you're listening to this and you want to drop a rating and review, I would appreciate it. It helps. We were recently, Troy, I got up to, I was number 50 in the iTunes TV and film category.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's a very big category.
It is a very big category. And I was pretty surprised and pretty proud of it. I was the only cartoon show, I was the only show like of our type that was up there. It's, I was on, there were shows like Star Trek and, Battlestar Galactica, all these like talk about TV shows, and right there in the middle of it was a show about G.I. Joe. So I was pretty pleased to see that.
Yeah. And especially the part of G.I. Joe that very few know about.
Well, yeah, that's they're going to tune in. They're going to be like, oh, what's this G.I. Joe podcast? And they're going to hear me going like, extreme. And they're going to delete. But so if there's any new listeners out there, welcome and thank you for sticking around. We definitely appreciate it. So Troy, if you're ready, I'm ready. We can get rolling with this fabulous episode of G.I. Joe Extreme G.I. Joe Extreme on Joe and Joe Extreme. Are you all set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, listeners, get your videos ready if you happen to have it. That's the other thing. If you want to be a guest on the show, guess what your carrot is? Your carrot is a link to all these episodes. I'll supply the episodes. So that's fuel for you guys to reach out and be a guest. So if everyone's ready, ready, set, play. So it starts on Joe Island.
That's right.
Which is cool. I really like that they have their own island in this. And that's ballistic.
So I wonder if they took over Cobra Island and made it their own base.
No, it was on the early episodes. You'll get to it.
Okay.
It was, you know what? Well, it wasn't Cobra Island, but they did take over an island. But it wasn't Cobra Island. Yeah. So we know Cobra's a part of this. Well, real quick, we're missing the good stuff. It's Freight playing ballistic in a game of basketball. And Freight just bent steel to slam dunk the basketball.
Yeah, he would make Shaquille O'Neal cry. This guy is so big.
And you see it, and you look it's great. That was an amazing. Let's not bury the lead here. That was an amazing opener because not only were they playing 1-on-1, Freight won. He bent the backboard, but he bent the pipe of the backboard. So when it was done, it was shaped like an S. The whole thing broke. Ballistic has to take over monitor duty. That was awesome.
And a forced perspective, making Freight look like 2 to 3 times bigger.
Yes, he looks just like a monster. And when you see him in live action, you go, oh, that's Michael Clark Duncan. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if he was. I mean, he was an actor at the time. He was in stuff, I think, by that time. Because it wasn't Armageddon.
And was he also? Yeah,
maybe he wasn't though. I don't know. You know what? I'll look that up. But either way, if had they done a G.I. Joe Extreme movie, and they didn't cast Michael Clark Duncan, that would have been an absolute shame.
Right. Kind of reminds me of the guy who is in the Mission Impossible. That's the same guy, right?
Oh well, that's Ving Rhames.
Ving Rhames.
Yeah, yes. I love Ving Rhames.
Not as big as.
You're right.
Not as big as.
But no.
Clark
You know what though?
Bigger.
Clark Duncan was like bodybuilder big. Ving Rhames was strong, but he was more just a big dude. Ving Rhames at that time though, he would have been considered that type because of Pulp Fiction, which came out like 2 or 3 years earlier than this.
Right.
So let's see here. Michael Clark Duncan at the time, had he broke yet? And I was a big fan of Mike Clark Duncan. I was so sad when he passed away. He had been on a couple episodes of TV. He had done some TV at the time. Yeah, so Armageddon was 98, and that was his big breakout. Yeah. So there's a chance they could have. There honestly is a chance the animators could have seen him, but probably not.
And basketball was a huge thing in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Shaquille O'Neal, they're very few bigger than him.
No, yeah. He probably was modeled more after Shaq. You're totally right. So the show starts, and we just jump right into a fight. And it's Freight and Metalhead fighting against Rampage, the Hulk Iron Man bad guy. And they are, it's just like, we don't really know what they're fighting about, but it's just kind of in the middle of the fight, which is great. Don't need it. And
Freight is literally ripping the tank apart with his bare hands.
He's so strong. In a previous cold open, like live action open, he lifts up a tank.
I remember that one. Yeah, I saw that one.
Literally picks it up with his bare hands. It's insane. And Metalhead has fallen off the side of the cliff, and he's going, he's going to die. And Freight is holding onto a motorcycle, and the I can't remember the name of the vehicle, and Freight's pulling the vehicle up.
And
the vehicle
Metalhead.
breaks with Metalhead attached to it. The vehicle breaks off in his hands. So Metalhead falls down a cliff for real.
And Freight watches with fear.
Yeah. Cut immediately to a hospital bed, and Metalhead's alive. Black Dragon's giving him a pep talk, so to speak. But Metalhead's got brain damage. Looks like a busted arm and a busted leg.
Yeah.
Which is cool because we don't often see actual pain and actual damage on G.I. Joe in any of the iterations.
And he's got a Band-Aid across his nose.
Yeah, broke his nose too. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And here comes Freight, and you see that he's just broken up about this.
Yeah, he definitely takes it personal. It's like, why can't I lift motorcycles off cliffs?
Yeah, well, hey, let's be fair. He was lifting it. The motorcycle broke. Yeah, like the which is what I like about that part of it. He wasn't unable to do it. It just broke under pressure. Yep. They always say that whenever like they draw Superman catching a plane, it was actually the only really, really good thing about that Superman Returns, the Bryan Singer movie, is that they showed him trying to catch a plane and how difficult it would be, because as he catches it, the plane is not built to withstand being caught like that. So it would just crumble underneath. You know what I mean? So he has to get inventive. He just can't catch it and fly with it. And that's essentially what happened to Freight here. Now, I don't know who this lady is.
I was going to ask you. Good.
I have absolutely no idea. I feel like we saw her in a previous episode. I don't remember it. And she never had a figure. She's not listed as any, like, you know, unproduced figures. I have no idea who she is. She looks like someone out of like an anime Robotech kind of show. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Where she's got like this she's got an eye patch, a pirate hat, with a skull, the big shoulder blades. Like, she looks something like that. Like, she'd be on, like, what is it? Battle Yamoto? I forget what the name of that one was called.
She kind of reminds me of the Street Fighter guy. They made the figure woman with the eye patch and top hat but like pirate. I mean, it's clearly a pirate gear.
Yes, you're
weird.
That's actually really cool. It's a female version of the guy that Street Fighter bad guy. He was played by Raul Julia, Major Bison, M. Bison.
Yep.
She's completely a female M. Bison without an eye.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't know that they named her.
Now, maybe I didn't catch it either.
Yeah, maybe they name her in a later episode, which if so, this is exciting because then it's just a tease of this awesome looking character. She looks great.
Mm-hmm. She definitely jumps off the screen and like, okay, my attention went to her. It's like, okay, who's she? Because, I mean, he comes in, he's got some kind of device that Scar wants.
Right.
And he's like, I got to hand deliver it. And she's like, no. And she pretty much shuts him down. Mm-hmm. So she's got power.
This is them giving Claw a Baroness character, you know?
Yeah.
Like someone in power who acts as a go-between. And what the thing is, it's like a device that's going to we find out later, it's basically a stronger version of the metal arm that's on Wreckage. And that's essentially what it is. It's a souped up Wreckage. It's like that. It's like that episode of the DIC show where they souped up the Bat and he became Annihilator. You know what I mean? Okay. It's like kind of like that idea of like they're going to make a better version of Wreckage. So he contacts Wreckage and he tells him about it, and Wreckage is not happy with it because Wreckage is not happy with what happened to him. Which, listeners, if you remember, he got put under an experiment and he got turned into this monster. Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie. It's about not two movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben. And each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out one episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show. I believe we just took a commercial break. So,
Okay.
So if there's listeners, if the edit on this is awfully quick, that's why. So hopefully you just heard a commercial, or you just heard one of my file cards, because I think that's what we on the video. That's what we just watched, but there were no commercial bumpers there. But Freight is broken up and upset, and he's talking to Stone about how upset he is. So he wants to quit the G.I. Joe team.
So did you notice when Freight walked in the room how off tilted he was? That is like he was kind of like at a weird stance. And if I remember correctly, that's how his action figure is. It's almost like I don't know how to describe the pose where he's got one leg bent, one fully extended, and his hips are like almost like weird.
Yeah, he's like swerving to the left. He's putting on a Detroit lean. Yep. I have a feeling that's because his character model can't fit through that doorway. And I'm not joking. If they drew
probably
him, if they drew the doorway in what would be a normal size and drew him at what would be the size they've established him at, those shoulders don't fit through that door.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So he quit and he heads immediately to a local football team.
Yep.
What in the world are you doing here? I thought you were off
To his old coach.
To his old coach, yep. Now,
So he'd be a competitor.
yeah, and on a previous episode of Joe on Joe, we were talking that some of these were videotaped off of an Appleton, Wisconsin, like affiliate back in the day. So and this one is as well, and so it gets the little Appleton, Wisconsin, Green Bay bumper on the bottom, fitting because they're wearing Green Bay colors.
Yeah, I immediately thought Green Bay.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm just gonna say, Freight's trying out for the Green Bay Packers.
Yep. And one guy, I was trying to figure out what position he played, because I mean you would think lineman, but nope, he's a skilled position.
Yeah.
Because they're throwing him the ball.
Yep.
He's running the ball.
His hand is bigger than a football. That is how he is. That is wild.
And everybody's so excited because they know that they have Freight on their team, that they're going from worst to first.
Yep.
No problem. One guy changes everything.
Omar K. Diesel. That's great. It's great that they gave his name on the show just now. He's an ex-All-Pro linebacker, and I don't know if this if we're on the Joes, because I alternate Joes and bad guys for my file card. So if this one becomes a Joe, of course I'm going to do Freight. But he's an all-pro, expert all-pro linebacker.
Okay, so linebacker, he's playing defense.
Oh, yeah.
They're throwing him the ball, and he's running the ball.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. That reminds me, and I wish I remembered what the joke was. But for years, I remember this. It was funny. There was an Archie joke book we had at the comic shop.
Mm-hmm.
And in it was a football joke with Archie talking to his coach, and it was funny. It was a funny joke, and it made sense, and it was a play on something about being a halfback or quarterback or something along those lines. Except if you knew anything about football, it wouldn't make sense, because the position he was referencing never touches the ball.
Yep.
And I read it and I laughed at it, and then I went, "Oh, damn it, Archie! That just doesn't make any sense. You can't. If it just doesn't make sense, and even though it's funny, it can't be funny. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Archie."
So they kick the ball off the Freight, and of course he takes the opening kickoff, runs it back for a touchdown,
and he is wrestling,
manhandling,
just wrestling the other players. He's playing, but he is a linebacker because he just played defense.
There, he played defense. Maybe he plays both ways.
He plays both sides of the ball. He's absolutely. He's both, and I appreciate that. That's what I did in high school. I basically never left the field. It was exhausting.
I played high school in Ohio and played 2 years in college until my television career took off.
Oh, wow.
And, so, yeah, he's definitely breaking rules. He would definitely be thrown out.
Oh, for sure. For sure. What position did you play?
Running back.
Nice. Did you play both? You said you played both sides of the ball?
I did early, but then once no, you can't play defense.
Yeah, once you become a running back, you shouldn't be using your energy on defense. Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
One of my greatest accomplishments, I mean, not greatest, but one of the accomplishments, I was All-American honorable mention, All-State honorable mention.
In high school or college?
In high school.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we're going to go back to that actually, but so after the game, they win, they totally destroyed them. But in a really cool human moment, we see that in the locker room, Freight realizes he's not happy. That
still not filling the void.
Yeah, being in G.I. Joe gave him a life mission and a purpose, and just using it's kind of like Superman of like, using those superpowers just to play football really well. That's not why he was put here. Like, so Freight has all this potential.
For something more important, the fight for freedom against the toughest team of all.
So he can't waste his skills just playing football.
Yeah, and it's funny because he just has that deep need to be part of a team.
Ooh! That football just exploded, but it wasn't the ball. It was the wall. It was the wall. But it looked, and you know what it looked like? It was as if he accidentally got a hold of Sergeant Gridiron's grenade footballs. So
yes,
and it's Rampage with one of the robotic soldiers. They show up and they're going to kidnap him because Claw wants him for that experiment to make him, basically they want to make a Wreckage 2.0.
Right, bigger, stronger, better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So running back, that's great. That's exciting.
Well, thanks.
And did you play 2 years of it in college?
I did. I played 2 years in college, and
what did you do to him?
College was a great experience, and I chose my college because they had a really cool TV studio, and to play football was kind of secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a team that they ran 5% of the time and passed 90.
We're gonna be right back.
Today's file card is on the big man himself, Freight. File name Omar K. Diesel. He's a cutting-edge demolitions expert, an all-pro linebacker, enormously huge, incredibly bulked, over-the-top aggressive. He throws his weight around with power-pack football-style hits and headbutts. I like Freight a lot. Picture Shaquille O'Neal on the G.I. Joe team. He's got a giant red bandana. As Troy talked about in this episode, his character is this like lean to the side, and I think because if they made him more upright, he just would have absolutely towered over every action figure because he is a mammoth dude. A couple episodes back, he was lifting a tank. On today's pre-show stinger, he bent metal playing basketball. He's just got rippling biceps. Like, he is a mammoth man. This is one of those code names that absolutely identifies what the guy's all about. He looks like he is a freight train and could just barrel through you. He's a fun character. And what's really funny is he doesn't even come with a gun. He's got strong arm blocking power. And so they give him a mace, a knife, and this glove, like picture like a hockey glove, like he would stop pucks with it, which sort of ties into this episode where they wanted to graft that claw into his arm. But he doesn't come with a gun. Like, he's just such a one-man wrecking crew. They're just like, here's a bunch of brute force objects. Beat the crap out of your enemy with them. I like him. I like Freight a lot. I'm here for him. Omar K. Diesel, we salute you.
Oh, so you're a running back who went to a team that didn't run the ball.
Exactly. So I was a blocking back, and I was a freshman, sophomore, and to be completely 100% honest, I was not any playing time, and the joy was gone.
Yeah.
And I just kept myself being drawn to the TV studio, and that's where I made a career out of.
So on the show, we're actually these are all flashbacks from Wreckage's episode. We see how he got turned into Wreckage. He was a U.S. soldier who got injured, and then transformed by this U.S. Like colonel. But we
Right.
know that that's not an actual U.S. colonel. We know that that's actually Ironclaw in disguise, and he
Right.
manipulates the soon-to-be Wreckage, and turns him into the monster that he is, Frankenstein kind of monster, and all this stuff. What college did you go to, Troy?
DePaul University in Indiana.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I know DePaul with a W, right?
With the W.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
L, not the
Right,
W.
not the L. Yeah, yeah. I know DePaul. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. I was a
So
lineman.
when I saw-
I was
so you've been tackling me.
Yeah. I hit my head a lot. I hit my head a lot. Yeah. I was a lineman. I'm both offense and defense. I was a offensive tackle and a defensive end. And whenever they come up with that CTE test for normal living humans, I'm gonna take it because I hit my head a lot.
Going back to the TV show, that flashback, that was kind of surprising for me because they basically show the guy getting blown up and blown back from an explosion. That
Mhm.
you don't see that on the original Sunbow or Deke.
No.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they had to drive the point home that this guy got hurt. That was Sunbow and Deke was
Yeah.
all lasers. This is
I can't let you do this.
and they what's amazing is that not only do they augment him physically, but they also give him a voice like this.
Yeah,
Because there's no way he spoke like this before he became a monster.
yeah, that was the hormone.
Yeah.
They just
So they're going to attach. They're going to amputate. This plot is frightening. They're going to amputate Freight's arm and give him a metal arm like Wreckage, and turn him into another Wreckage. But Wreckage, the assumption was that he was already damaged. Kind of like a $6 million man. Like we can rebuild him, we can make him stronger. This is Freight is totally healthy. Nothing wrong with him, and they're going to just chop him up and turn him into a bad guy.
Yep.
So he wakes up. Yeah. What's that?
I said, you don't need this right hand. We got a better one.
No. Yeah. We got it. We got a good right hand for you. And
Yeah.
And so now this is one of the patented like music video montage fights.
Right.
That we see a lot on this show. And there's they cut all the dialogue. We just get a nice big fight. And this episode, this one doesn't feel like it's for time purposes, but a lot of the times when we see these, there's a lot of that. Like it seems like they're condensing it because they ran out of time or they wanted to save money on budgets or stuff. But I guess in this, they're not paying voice actors, right? So maybe there's a budgetary thing. Maybe.
And again, going back to the violence. So the guy got shot in the back, and you see, I'm just surprised that you can see like the little hole.
Yeah,
but
there was,
I mean, it doesn't,
the actual
it doesn't
damage
faze him.
No, and that's probably why they get away with it, maybe.
Right.
But yeah, he definitely got a laser blast to the back, and there was a
burn.
seeming burn, yeah. And so Freight hands Wreckage what would have been the new version of his hand, and Wreckage breaks it with the old normal version of his metal hand. And these guys are making friends. I feel like by the time we get season 2, Wreckage is going to be on the G.I. Joe team.
Yeah, Freight's trying to turn him. It's like, you can join us.
Yeah. I mean, Troy, I'm not watching ahead, so I'm watching this as we go. I can't wait to see what happens with Wreckage. He's the most gripping character on the show so far. And
Metalhead surprises me. Because number one is like they give him a name like Metalhead, and I've heard you mention him. I was thinking he'd be like some big buff.
No,
this guy is like totally surfer. He's muscular and trim, but nothing compared to all the other guys.
Yeah, he's a skinny dude. He's the computer expert. He's very capable at what he does, even though he talks like a moron.
Right.
And yeah, I'm fine with this iteration of Metalhead. But he is still jacked up. But Freight comes back home to the G.I. Joe team. Welcome home, Freight. And that's great. And that's the episode. Yep. And we're going to go into a PSA now. Now, it's one that we've seen before on the show, but Troy, I don't know if you've seen this yet. The baseball.
I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah. It's Stone, right? Or is it Savage? I think it's Stone. Who just mysteriously, magically knows that the kid needs glasses, not just that he's a terrible hitter. I recently got, so yeah, I'm a little older, kids, and it's the progressive lenses. They used to call them bifocals, now they call them progressive. And I got progressive contact lenses, and they are not good.
Wow, because you gotta make sure you get them on right. Or
Yeah,
do they
well,
all...
it's circular. It's picture it like
Okay.
Captain America's shield, you know.
Okay.
And it's
That makes sense.
like one eye has it and one doesn't. This is, I guess, the way they do it now. It is not fun. I'm not enjoying them. I don't think I'm going to be getting them again. Take care of your eyes, listeners. And I say that not blaming myself. I didn't really damage my eyes. I just have terrible vision. But Troy, you have 20/20 vision because you just watched G.I. Joe Extreme.
That's right.
It has
And-
nothing to do with your vision, but you watched it. You watched it. What did you think?
I like it. I dig it. I like the way they, I mean, I like the freshness of it, the new one. These are new characters, new vehicles, everything is new and everything is different. And, you know, it's not your dad's G.I. Joe. It's completely different. Not what I grew up with, but and it's in the world. I haven't quite figured out the world yet. It feels a little post-apocalyptic, but not. I mean, these guys don't look like soldiers, but they're. It's weird. It just really is weird.
It is quite. And
They're
it's
part
also
of a team.
They're also like in Europe. They're not in America. You know, like
Yeah.
they, you know, most of their action is not like on American soil either. It is foreign soil. I think this is contender for my favorite episode so far, because it got all the humanity and stuff that I dig about this stuff. It's really, I think this is a really, really good episode. If you guys, listeners, if you could seek this one out, I think you'd enjoy it. I really, really do.
And I like the smaller scale of it too. You know, it's weird because I also like the large scale and the depth of like all the G.I. Joe characters. But sometimes when you have too many characters, it's hard to keep track of all of them.
Right.
It feels like there aren't armies. Like we saw, basically this is a story about 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Totally. Yeah, I have trouble with these guys anyway, because this wasn't my generation. So from show to show, you guys know I have trouble remembering their names. But also it's because half of them never had figures made, so that there aren't a lot of visual representations of them. You know what I mean? To reference. So like I only have one page and it's only got half the roster. Like Mayday never had a character, so there's only a picture of her figure on the back of a file card. So it doesn't burn it into your brain, you know. But we're getting there. We're plugging along.
Yeah, and I definitely would have watched this on TV in 1995. It just wasn't around. And once, I don't even think the Deke era aired in my area.
Yeah.
And they did, like Sumbo, I saw them every day and every Saturday. But these later ones is like, and believe me, I was looking for them. I think I was watching Transformers when they went to Predacons
Beast
and
Machines, yeah.
Beast Wars. Beast Wars.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So I remember watching those before going to school. So I definitely would have watched this show. And I remember wondering, like, where's the G.I. Joe?
Yeah. I feel like I saw some of the Deke stuff and I didn't like it. And so I tuned it out. And I think I was aware of this. I definitely have the comic book from this. But I remember when I picked the comic book up as a back issue. I did not get the comic book on stand because I think when I saw it, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know how to read this. Is that Black Dragon Snake Eyes? I'm confused. Let's move on. So, you know, I dig it. And Troy, I really dig having you back on the show, buddy. Thanks so much for coming back on.
It was a pleasure to be here and talk G.I. Joe.
Yes,
Extreme!
Absolutely. Extreme. Listeners, so make sure you go to the Joburg YouTube page and check out all these videos that Troy is making. They're really, really great. I hope you invite me back to voice something in the next one. I look forward to it if I may.
Absolutely. You're on the short list. And, you know, again, thanks to G.I. Joburg for letting me be a guest there. And since I've done my videos, there's been a number of people who've also come out and made their own videos. So now it's kind of becoming like a hub. So there's a couple of different voices there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, there's a guy from Canada, Cobra Lang, who's put up a few videos now, and Cody did a 55-minute episode.
Whoa!
Amazing, yes,
Whoa.
and it's part one. There's more.
Oh my goodness!
And yeah, so it's an amazing one. And then there's a guy named Dustin who did a video with his kids, same thing, and that was a very good episode. So there's a lot of us out here that are making our own little. We call them playmation or playmotion.
Playmotion. That's yeah, because it's not stop motion.
Nope.
But it is playmotion. I love that. That's the perfect name for it.
And the way Steven describes is like, look, this is just a video recording of a scenario and something we would play with when we were kids, and that's just. It's through the mind of a child playing, but we get a little more serious. And it's fun. It's a good excuse and reason. Look, honey, I need to buy this figure. He's in the next movie. He's already cast.
Yeah,
we got to spend this money now.
It's all research. It's all research money. Awesome.
Right.
Well, listeners, thank you so much for going on this ride with us. Troy, thanks again. And we'll see you next time. Now you Joe. And Joeing is half the battle.
Half the battle.
Extreme!
Extreme!